What's up, metalheads? My name's Jamie. This is the Blades and EDC channel. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. And today I'm going to do my overview of the EMP EDC Relative. I put this one off a little bit because I thought I had an OG EMP EDC Nimble coming for the knife sale that I was going to compare the two, because this is their first OEM knife by Bestech. All the knives in the past were done by QSP, so I was going to compare the fit and finish on them. But the Nimble didn't make it in time, so I could do it without it, though. I've had a lot of QSP OEM EMP EDC knives here. I've owned a couple, and I've had some here for the sales, and Brian has sent me the Nimble W, who also sent me the Relative. So I'm very familiar with the QSP OEM knives. By the way, I'm going to link Brian's Instagram in the description of the video, Lord Needham. Go give him a follow. Super nice guy with an amazing collection of knives, including this one. I'll also link EMP EDC down there. The day this video is going live is the day after there's another pre-order for these dropping. Now this one is a Magna Cup, but the pre-order that just started is an LMAX, if I remember correctly. And I think there's some of these in Magna Cut that will be available to purchase and not pre-order, although they're going to cost a little more. The pre-order on these knives is $359. To buy one is $389. So it's $30 cheaper to pre-order it than to purchase it. But for that $30, you don't have to worry about the weight. So let me give you the specs on it real quick. Overall length 7.8 inches. Blade length is 3.4 inches. Handle length 4.4 inches. Blade thickness is 150 thousandths or 4 millimeters. The weight is 4.3 ounces. Magna Cut blade on this one. Titanium hardware everywhere. Everything's titanium except the lock bar insert, which is steel, but it does have a titanium screw. All T8 screws, including the lock bar insert screw. Beautiful finish on this variation. Bronze with the black. I think it looks super good. I really like the way this knife looks. And Bestech did a great job. And I can clearly see the difference in fit and finish and action between this knife and past EMP EDC knives I've had. This is a step above. Those other knives were pretty good, right? I mean, but this is definitely better, noticeably better in every way. Every way, action, fit and finish, everything about it is better. The grind, yeah, it's just a step above what QSP was able to do, but you're going to pay for it. This knife is going to cost you $100 more than a QSP made knife for EMP EDC, so, you know. But you can see where that $100 is going. Clearly see it. I can. So let's do a couple size comparisons and then take some close-up looks at that blade, because that blade, man, goodness, it looks so good. All right, here's the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. It's going to be a little shorter than the Paramilitary 2. Here's the Spyderco Para 3. Going to be a little longer than that. Kind of right in the middle. Actually, it's closer to the Paramilitary 2 than the Para 3. It's a full-size knife, but at only 4.3 ounces. A lot of internal milling on the scales. That's one thing I do want to point out for this price point in just a minute, that I think they could do differently, especially for what you're paying for this knife. Here's the TRM Shadow. Here is a Spyderco Manix 2. So a little bit longer than the Shadow, a little shorter than the Manix 2. Here's the Hinder XM18 3.5 inch. What else we got here we can do? How about the Demco AD 20.5, the clip point variation? Close in length to the AD 20.5, very close. It's a little bit longer than that, but not much. Not much at all. How about the Benchmade 940? And the Benchmade Bug Out. Almost identical in length to the 940. Quite a bit longer than the Bug Out. How about the Tactile Rockwall? Makes that knife look pretty tiny. And the Chris Reeves Small & Cozy. Makes that one look even tinier. And we always do a QSP Penguin. And we'll go ahead and throw out the Spyderco Schmuck. almost identical in length to the smock. I think the smock's just a tiny bit longer, maybe a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch longer. So, all right, let's take a look at this blade. Look at these grind lines, man. Absolutely beautiful. You got a hollow grind right here, a really, really deep hollow grind, I got to point out. I mean, super, super thin. I feel like my fingers are touching, my index finger and thumb are touching. It's so thin up there. This thing is going to be such a good slicer. And then you got a flat grind out here at the tip to keep that tip strong and sturdy for you. The action on this knife is fantastic. The detent is perfect. The reverse flick, I can't fell it. I've sat and tried many times to fell it. The only time it fails is if I press so lightly that the blade catches my finger on the way out. And that's not a problem with the knife, that's just me not being able to get my finger out of the way fast enough. Cannot fell it on the thumb flick or the reverse flick. Both are very, very good. There's a plane flying overhead, so I apologize for the noise. The front flipper. Generally, I like finer jimping on a front flipper, like on the Bellamy here, the busty Bellamy. But Bestech's done this so well and so sharp, not uncomfortably sharp, but sharp enough to where, man, it provides a lot of traction. I mean, don't miss it at all. Can't fell it. Even if I try to fell it, which on a front flipper I can usually do fairly easily. Pressing as lightly as I can to get that detent to pop. That felled it, but that wasn't the knife felling. That was, again, me not being able to get my thumb out of the way in time before the blade came back and got me. But any effort at all, you're not felling this knife. The knuckle roll works extremely well, and it's very comfortable. A lot of knives with sharper jimping like this, it can be uncomfortable doing that little knuckle roll, but with this one, not uncomfortable at all. Lock bar pressure does not seem to be an issue whatsoever with this knife. I can be all over to that lock bar when I'm deploying that blade. Like I'm putting my ring finger on it right now while I'm deploying the blade. No issue whatsoever. And I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on it. And let me put my middle finger on it, try the index finger flick again. Yeah. No issues with lock bar pressure. Fit and finish is just absolutely fantastic. It really is. But Bestech did an amazing job on this knife. And yeah, you can see the difference. One other thing I want to point out too is this milling on the scales. I love this milling, but they left a ramp for your pocket clip. Because if that milling was right underneath the tip of that pocket clip down there where it makes contact with the scale, it would be rough going in and out of your pants, but they left a flat area there where they did not mill it, which is very good, and the pocket clip works extremely well. One thing with this, especially at this price point, that I want to point out they should do differently, and with less expensive knives I can see why they don't, especially if they don't do internal milling on the scales, but this one has heavy internal milling on the show side throughout the whole scale, and on the lock side up here it's all milled out to keep the weight down. You've got this lock bar relief cut right here, and I don't understand why they don't put it on the inside of the scale. If it's a less expensive knife and you're only milling one side of the scale, I get that, because it's going to cost more for you to flip the scale and run another, milling pattern on the inside of the scale. But they've already milled out the inside of this lock side, so why not mill that out on the inside? It would look so much cleaner, like it does on this side, if that was like that on this side. I think it would just look better. I don't think it affects function in any way, but nearly $400 for a knife. Little details like that are what you really need to pay attention to, right? You're spending this kind of money on a knife. And honestly, I don't know. Maybe it's just EMP EDC wanted it this way. I don't know. Or maybe they were going to charge even more to flip it, put those notches on the inside. There may be a technical reason for it, but, I think it'd look better without it being on the outside of the scale and be on the inside of the scale. Other than that, man, I don't really have anything to complain about with this knife. It's beautiful. The action is absolutely amazing. The ergonomics are amazing. The jimping's done extremely well. The grind is gorgeous and super, super thin hollow grind. Yeah, not much negative to say about this one. Other than it's out of my budget. It's not in my budget. So that's not a negative in the knife. That's just a negative for me. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.